You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday, 30th day of January, 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. Now, the first live broadcast, that's our live training room. So to get in there, you got to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us in about an hour, he'll walk you through step by step how to take the trial. It's a piece of cake. It'll take you about 3 minutes. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today your trial, and you'll have access to the indicators over the weekend. Your trial will officially begin Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, and will run all the way through next Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. Weekends don't count against you. There's no credit card required. And you're not just gaining access to the live training room. You're also gaining access to everything we do the other 22 hours of the day. From the alerts to the weekly trading zones, you name it. We treat you like you were already a member, a passport holder, for 5 consecutive trading days. Again, no credit card required because we want you to focus on what's being taught. So at the end of the trial, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. So be sure and stick around for those instructions on how to take the trial at the top of the hour. When the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and then come back at noon for this broadcast. Now, this broadcast is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link, so at 12 noon Eastern, just click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way, you immediately have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Now, there will be days when you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. And there'll be days when you're busy, so you can't join live, but you do want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to, but it is a great resource to have at your fingertips because you can literally see how we've evolved over the years, day by day by day. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. Now, at 1 p.m. Eastern, Michael will join us for a recap of the live training room, everything that happened this morning, and then do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. But to get started, where we do each and every day, we'll go right to our daily devotional. Now, this is day 5 of 5 on our current topic. You're waiting, God's working. Today's scripture is Jeremiah 29:11, and I'm sharing it from the NIV translation. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Again, Jeremiah 29, verse 11. God sees every detail of your life, and He will watch over it all. Every coming and going, every beginning and end, every dream come true, and every heartbreak. Whatever you're waiting for, here are 3 certain things about your future. Number 1, God will be there. Number 2, you will be loved. Number 3, nothing will be too much for you and Jesus to get through together. There will never be a situation, conversation, or circumstance when God is not with you and working on your behalf. You'll never walk into a room where He isn't already there. You'll never receive news He hasn't already heard. You'll never face a challenge He hasn't already overcome. Nothing surprises God because He knows the past, present, and future. He can't be derailed, disappointed, or deterred. He doesn't become discouraged. He doesn't grow weary. He doesn't give up, give in, or let go. God has endless capacity, so He is the only one who can truly handle everything. Nothing is too big for Him, and nothing is too small. He can handle it all. He has promised to be your help. He has promised to be your hope. He has promised to get you through whatever happens. He has a plan for you, and it's good. You can trust Him to complete His purpose for your life because He loves you. God is on your side, and He is by your side. Remember, while you're waiting, He will keep working. Today, tomorrow, and always. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for the plans you have for us. Plans filled with hope and a future. Help us trust you when the path is unclear and rest in the promise of your faithful guidance. Lead us forward with confidence in your purpose. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen and happy Friday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. It's over 1%. NASDAQ down 215 points, almost 1%. S&P 500 down 52. The Russell 2000 down 45. And for the Russell 2000, that's roughly 1.75%. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 29 cents, trading 65.71 last. Gold down $354.10, trading 49.6430 last. That's a drop of over 6%. Silver down $20, trading 93.74 last. That's a drop of roughly 18%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei fell 52 points. Shanghai dropped 40. The Hang Seng fell 580, which is a little over 2%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 51, the DAX up 206, almost 1%, the CAC up 55. So we had a red day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And it's definitely a red radio Friday here in the US of A. And quite a week. Let's take a look at the news. Senate Democrats and the White House struck a deal yesterday that could fund a large portion of the government through September. A spending bill must pass in the Senate and House before midnight tonight to avert a partial government shutdown. The deal would separate Department of Homeland Security funding from the broader spending package, which includes increased funding for cancer research, air traffic controllers, and the military. Homeland Security would be funded at current levels until February 13th, as lawmakers continue negotiating restrictions on the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Democrats outlined a series of demands after 2 Americans were fatally shot in Minneapolis this month, including requiring agents to remove face masks, obtain arrest warrants, and to be subject to a uniform code of conduct. Last year's record 43-day government shutdown, driven by a fight over expiring health care subsidies, ended after a small group of Democrats reached an agreement with Republicans to fund the government through today. But it definitely looks like, because the House is not in session, so unless the Senate can pull out a miracle, we'll have a, and when they say partial shutdown, we're talking about 75%. But we know what that looks like because we just went through 43 days of it. Seems like yesterday. Iranian authorities have arrested multiple doctors and medical workers accused of treating wounded anti-government protesters, according to human rights groups. The arrests come amid a sweeping government crackdown on nationwide unrest that activists say has killed thousands. Doctors and nurses have reportedly large numbers of patients with gunshot wounds and say security forces have removed some injured protesters from emergency wards. The EU yesterday designated Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization, and a U.S.-based activist agency says it has verified more than 6,000 deaths, with over 17,000 additional cases under investigation. The Iranian government acknowledges only 3,000 dead. The news comes as Israel and Saudi defense and intelligence officials met in Washington to discuss options on Iran. Israeli representatives were expected to share Iran-related intelligence, while Saudi officials were expected to press to avoid a wider war and urge de-escalation. The U.S. has expanded its military presence in the region, but it remains unclear at this point whether or not it will use force. A man survived 48 hours without lungs using an artificial system until he was well enough to receive a double transplant. The landmark procedure took place nearly 3 years ago, with the patient since developing good function with his donated lungs. In 2023, the 33-year-old developed flu, pneumonia, and acute respiratory distress syndrome. In severe cases, ARDS is treated with life support to give patients time to fight the infection. In this case, however, the patient's heart stopped. His lungs were melting, and his kidneys had begun to fail. Surgeons at Northwestern Memorial Hospital decided to remove both lungs and use a 4-component total artificial lung system to drain, filter, and return oxygenated blood to the patient's heart at a responsive flow rate. Dr. Ankit Bharat, who designed the system, hopes it can be used in similar cases of severe ARDS, which impacts a portion of the roughly 190,000 U.S. cases per year. My goodness, in our lifetime, we have seen so many incredible medical developments. And now with AI being added into the mix, now I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on artificial intelligence, just like the internet. The internet can be used for the good of mankind, and it can be used for horrific evil. And we've seen it used as both in so many different ways. The same is true of AI. Meetings are taking place in Congress this week to try to figure out maybe how to not necessarily put the genie back in the bottle, but now that the genie's out of the bottle, how to control the genie. So we'll see. These are unprecedented times that we find ourselves living in. Opting for a conventional choice to lead the Federal Reserve, President Trump today nominated former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh to be the next chair of the central bank and succeed Jerome Powell. Trump said, "I have known Kevin for a long period of time and have no doubt that he will go down as one of the great Fed chairmen, maybe the best. On top of everything else, he is, in quotes, central casting, and he will never let you down," Trump said in his announcement this morning, which he posted to Truth Social. Unfortunately, we can't forget that the current Fed was also appointed by who? By President Trump. Morris has a world of experience. He's been part of the Fed Board of Governors. He's worked for a lot of private institutions, some think tanks. He went to Stanford and Yale. He's got the pedigree. Let's just see how he does the job. Powell will be leaving at the end of May. That's when his term expires. Grow increasingly worried that AI could upend traditional software business models. Companies in this sector within the S&P 500 are down roughly 18% over the last 6 months, while the index itself is up 9% over that time frame. The biggest losers of the group include SAP, which is down 30%, as well as Salesforce and ServiceNow, which have shed about 20 and 40% respectively. Software sentiment has rarely been lower, with AI casting a shadow of uncertainty for the sector, according to Jefferies analyst Charles Brennan in a note that he wrote to investors earlier in January. That shadow of uncertainty has two prongs. For one, investors worry that software as a service could develop in-house software solutions using AI tools from large language model providers like Anthropic's Claude Code, reducing their reliance on providers like Salesforce. The recent release of Anthropic's new autonomous digital assistant, Claude Cowork, has only accelerated that fear. Second, there's concern that AI is lowering barriers for entirely new enterprise software startups, including companies like Oracell and Artisan AI, whose AI native platforms could directly challenge the competitive advantages of already established firms. Older software players have raced to introduce agentic artificial inference, take actions in the hopes of defending their core platforms from upstart rivals. But the platforms, such as Microsoft's Copilot, Salesforce Agentforce, and Snowflake's Intelligence, are still getting off the ground. Now, I saw on a television program last night, and I haven't had a chance to figure out if it's true or not, but on this TV if it was on this program, it's either already out there. I'm trying to, let me do a quick let's see if this is a real. Basically, here's how this television program played out. I think it was Law and Order, but a man's wife had passed, but he had many hundreds of hours, I guess they had planned for this, of him and her just chatting using something like Zoom. So the computer model had her, her language down, her body movements, even her way of, thinking and reasoning. And so when she finally passed from her terminal illness, this man was able to log on each day, just like a regular Zoom call, and talk to his wife, who was no longer alive. Now, of course, we know that wasn't his wife. There's no soul there. It seems like legacy avatars was the term they used on the show. Again, I don't know if it's reality yet, but hang on, let me click this one little link here. No. I'm looking, hang on. I think I found one. Replica, the AI companion who cares. Meet Replica, an AI companion who is eager to learn and would love to see the world through your eyes. Replica is always ready to chat when you need an empathetic friend. Yeah, see, these look kind of like cartoon characters now in the TV show, and I realize it's a TV show, so don't be too hard on me. There was another company mentioned in my search. What was it? What about character.ai? You got to sign up to even see what they do. So anyway, be on the lookout for it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Not saying I don't. It's a whole new world. I mean, many people for years have gone to a taxidermist and had their favorite pet stuffed. This is a much different kind of thing. But it's almost as if your spouse or partner was, still with you. Get up and have coffee together every morning. Like I say, this was TV, and so they may be getting out in front of this. But usually what I find is that these TV programs are onto something that's already out there in some form or another. Good, bad, I don't know. It did seem a little unusual. I don't know if creepy is the right word, but I'd say be careful. Oil held steady as President Trump's threats against Iran are keeping the market on edge. West Texas Intermediate traded near 65 a barrel, while Brent held close to $70 after settling at the highest since July last session. Elon Musk says SpaceX is considering a potential merger with Tesla, as well as an alternative combination with artificial intelligence firm xAI. according to people familiar with the matter. A sign billionaire Elon Musk is weighing how to consolidate his empire. The firm has discussed the feasibility of a tie-up between SpaceX and Tesla, an idea that some investors are pushing. The people asking not to be identified as the information isn't public. Separately, they are exploring a tie-up between SpaceX and XAI ahead of an IPO, according to some of the people who ask to remain secret. Well, Minnesota, Capitol Hill. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison will answer questions from a congressional panel investigating welfare fraud in the state. The two will testify on March 4th to the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Americans deserve answers about the rampant misuse of taxpayer dollars in Minnesota's social services programs that occurred on Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison's watch, according to House Oversight Chairman James Comer. This was in a post on X today. Federal prosecutors have estimated that welfare fraud in the state could have topped $9 billion amid the nearly 100 fraud arrests. The Trump administration has withheld funds for certain school programs. Walz, the 2024 Democrat nominee for vice president, announced that he would not seek re-election to a third term as governor earlier this month amid intense criticism over the scandal. Earlier this month, members of the Minnesota House Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight Policy Committee testified to the same congressional panel that Walz likely knew about the fraud as it occurred. State Republican lawmakers also testified about state intimidation of whistleblowers. When we see what they've done, not only with this fraud thing, but with allowing these riots to continue, Tucker Carlson, he's a different Tucker Carlson than the one that used to be on TV. I mean, he's got the same driver's license, but he's a different guy. He did a monologue on his show, which is on YouTube, and I'm sure other places, the other day, where he talked about chaos and that the purpose of what is happening in Minnesota is to bring chaos. I really encourage you, you can go to podcasts on Apple or just Google Tucker Carlson show and it'll take you to some place. Now, there may be video, but the one I listened to was audio only. He asks some questions that will really have you searching your mind as to why this is unfolded in the manner that it's unfolded and why nothing has been done about it. And last, Don Lemon finally gets arrested. City's church, the St. Paul Church, invaded by agitators opposing ICE, responded Friday today after federal agents arrested former CNN host Don Lemon last night in Los Angeles. The church said, "We are grateful that the Department of Justice acted swiftly to protect City's church so that we can continue to faithfully live out the church's mission to worship Jesus and make him known." A statement was provided by the church's lead pastor, Jonathan Parnell. The freedom to worship God without fear of violence and intimidation is a fundamental right that defines who we are as Americans. True North Legal and City's Church are grateful that the Department of Justice is committed to upholding that freedom and is holding the agitators who invaded the church accountable. Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in LA, where he was covering the Grammy Awards. I don't know if they did it on TV or not. Don has been a journalist. Well, I'm using air quotes here because if you call that journalism, Anyway, Don claims to have been a journalist for 30 years, or he's pretended to be a journalist for 30 years. And his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done, Lowell added. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. These people were in church worshiping God. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed the arrest and also mentioned that federal agents arrested Trareen Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamal Lytle Lundy, names I'm not familiar with. The Justice Department initially sought charges for Lemon, among others, for violating the Ku Klux Klan Act and the freedom of access to clinic entrances earlier this month when he entered City's Church in St. Paul amid an invasion of the service. If you haven't seen the video clip, you should see it. He claims the pastor shoved him or touched him or whatever. I saw the pastor just trying to continue with his sermon. But you watch the video, maybe you'll see something I missed. All right, let's go to Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. It's not just E-minis, it's also crude, gold, and silver. We're currently in week 391. Over the last 391 weeks, we've issued over 21,400 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Valerie did the recap this morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, so there'll probably be some changes when she finalizes the recap this afternoon for the week. She'll do it this afternoon, tonight, or early tomorrow morning, and that will finalize the week. Since the markets opened Sunday night, we issued a total of 32 alerts. One never triggered. That's probably a duplication on my part. Still waiting on the outcome of 6. That gave us 25 actionable alerts, of which 3 or 12% would have been stopped out. Again, based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. The purpose of the logic alerts is to help you learn how to read a chart. It helps you learn where to expect potential resistance, where to expect potential support, how to find the windows of opportunity that exist in between, and find the high probability, low risk trade opportunities that you seek. If you never actually trade a logic alert, still use them to learn to read the chart. If you're going to trade for a living, you got to be able to read the chart, and the chart has a language that's different from any other profession. There's no words, sentences, paragraphs, punctuation. It's a nonverbal language. However, if you follow along with the logic alerts, over time, you will begin to understand how price flows. You'll know where to anticipate resistance. You'll know where to anticipate support. And you'll learn to humbly accept the fact that about 20% of the time or less, your best work won't pan out. The market will actually do something completely different. And you'll learn not to waste time or treasure chasing the why it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. You just accept it and look for the next opportunity. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session and vice versa. 391 weeks is a long time. It's a little over 7 years. But a lot of years before we had Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. And they're different. They're different in a whole lot of ways. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'll just say they don't come out around the clock. They're published as a static report shortly before the Globex open each evening. The Friday session that we're in right now began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. But 5 minutes before the market opened last night for the Friday session, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets: S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. Now, as we go through the individual charts, the individual markets, you'll see these targets drawn out on the screen. Just keep in mind that all traders and trial members had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. Now we'll go to where we always start with the charts, the daily chart of the S&P 500 E-mini futures, the bellwether as it's called. All right, that's the new all-time historic high that was put in this week. This is Friday, this is Thursday, Wednesday, Fed Day. We got a new all-time historic high, intraday, and a new all-time historic closing high. But it was an unusual Fed Day. I mean, the size of the candle, yesterday's candle was much larger, twice, maybe 3 times. So the fact that the Fed didn't plan to cut the rates really was baked into the cake. And I guess none of the questions that Powell was asked during the press conference and his answers rattled the markets that much. We did find support that day right at the 50% fib extension. Yesterday we found resistance at the 62% fib extension. And today we have dropped down to here. Buyers came in at this spot right here. And price is now right at the daily BBC. We have blue and climbing. You'll notice resistance, the black step line, is directly above price. That represents resistance. Blue and climbing and the BBC, those both represent potential support. But again, we've already spiked that area once. So, in fact, we even spiked the 38% fib extension. So the big question becomes, do we sell off into the close? With all that's happening in the world and in the markets, are traders willing to carry home their positions over the weekend? If we were to take out today's low, then we would look to yesterday's low and then the low of January 26th. Then you'd be at the 24% fib extension, and then this low, and the zero line. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. So when price reverts to the mean, it looks like this. Price pulls back to the BBC. That just stands for bull-bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. When we cross below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices, higher prices, lower prices, higher prices. Now, these are not normal market conditions, far from it. This is as far from what normal market conditions look like than anything I've seen since I first traded futures back in 2005. So be careful, be cautious, and we'll see what February brings. I mentioned yesterday that as I thought back over previous years, January is, to me, always seemed like a bit of an unusual month, but never quite this unusual. So we'll see what next week or next month, February, brings. Now, all the alerts, the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, the weekly trading zones, they're all created on the 30-minute chart. The vertical line separates the day Friday. Over here is Thursday, back here is Wednesday. The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. They're published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. When price drops to a zone, we expect support till proven otherwise. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. Notice yesterday how, coming down, the black step line and red and falling were running parallel until the black step line crossed from the left side to the right side of red and falling, and price rallied right back up to the BBC. And then we had a close up here, which would have suggested higher prices, but then the markets opened last night. This was the opening candle, and down we came. We got below the BBC. We hit this zone, spiked it quite a bit, found support at an area I would not have typically called for support. However, support will always send the market looking for resistance. The pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't. Resistance always sends the market looking for support, which it found initially at the short target and then at the zone 6920/21. Support sends the market looking for resistance. That's what we expect at a zone 77/78. Resistance sent us back to support. Now this was support times 2. You got the BBC and a weekly trading zone. Okay, either one of those alone we would expect to be support, but they're both there, so that's support times 2. That sent price back up to the zone overhead. Now, this first candle right here, as you can see, right where blue turned to red, it's basically that candle. Now, the top of this candle, right at the hump. And then this third candle, if you look at the horizontal line, you'll see it is the high of this candle right here. All areas where you would anticipate resistance based on market structure. Well, price kept coming back to the BBC. Support, 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 until it finally traded through. The pullback holds more often than not, but eventually it will trade through. And it did, right down to the zone, almost to the tick. 6935/36 is the zone. I don't know if I can get a pop-up on this one or not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe. So the low was 69.35. Yep, hit the zone to the tick. Support sends the market looking for resistance. So the pullback to the BBC held. We got red and falling overhead. So most likely we're going to end up heading back down to this zone, possibly the short target, and potentially lower. Again, it really has to do with institutional traders, the ones who actually move price. They took us all the way down to the 38% fib extension and a little lower today. Now we've recovered about almost half of that territory, but it's looking a bit heavy. So on the Dow, here's where we opened last night. Now, when price encounters a weekly trading zone, one of three things happens. 70% of the times consolidation, 20% of the times rejection, 10% of the times the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. This candle sliced through the zone and then retraced almost back to the zone and continued in the direction of the slice. That's what typically happens. It's not what always happens, but it happens more often than not. So here was the open last night. We got below the BBC and we dropped to the short target, and we got there by 9 o'clock. 9 p.m. No, make that 8:30 Eastern. Okay, and that's based off this right here. Support gave us a little bounce, but we didn't quite make it to the BBC, which is a sign of weakness. So down we go to the weekly zone, 835/840, consolidation. We rally back up to the zone, resistance, drop to the BBC, the pullback held, and then we made these three attempts to go higher. So you got a high, a lower high, a lower high. Blue and climbing turned to red and falling, and right here is the low of the session. Now from that point, we did bounce back up to the black step line. When the black step line gets directly above price, it quite often becomes resistance. Right above that, you got a zone, potential resistance, and we're in the process of getting a bearish cross right now. That's where the red line goes below the green line. So this picture to me looks like lower prices are on the way. Now, if this low gets taken out right here, the lowest weekly zone for the week is down here at 480.45. So we'll see what happens. On the Russell, here's where we opened last night. Blue and climbing was directly above price. Resistance became red and falling. Took us down and through the short target, which was based off right here where red turned to blue. We continued on down to this area right here. Buyers came in, drove us up to the underside of the short target. When price trades through a CTA, often on the retracement, in this case, the underside of the short target will become good resistance, and it was for 2 hours. And then it sent us down to the zone below at 26.29/29.30. Support sent us back to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, and now we've already got the bearish cross. Price is pinched. Resistance overhead. We've actually traded through that support there. So the lowest weekly zone for the Russell is 25.28/29. Basically, we've stayed inside of this zone for most of the session on the Russell. The NQ. Yesterday we found support right at the zone. And remember, the zones are published Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. And so yesterday's low was right at the zone published Monday morning. And then as we bounced off that low, we found resistance at the zone published Monday morning. So we opened last night, dropped to the zone, support comes in right here, right at these lows. Bounces us back up to the BVC, pull back holds, and sends us down. Right here's the London Open, and it looks like we hit the short target to the tick, which is based off right here, where red turned to blue. So we got a little bounce, came back down, hit the zone to the tick. That bounced us all the way back above the BBC. And now again, look at those 3 wicks sticking up. Blue and climbing turns to red and falling. Looks like we're heading lower. We may retest this area here. And below this, there's still 2 more zones below. So there's plenty of room for the market to continue falling today. So be careful. Crude oil. This was the open last night. Now this is the highest weekly zone for the week. Even when price gets above the highest zone, by close of business on Friday, we expect price to be at or below the highest zone or at or above the lowest zone. So even though we got above the highest weekly zone, in fact, we opened last night, came right down at the short target, traded through it. And then we bounced back up to the zone, resistance, and red and falling. This sends us down here. Okay. And then we go sideways, consolidating, resistance at the underside of the short target. Red and falling turns to blue and climbing. So we get a leg, a retracement, a leg, a retracement, and a leg that takes us right up to the long target to the tick. Now that long target, as you can see, was based right off the top of the body of that candle. And from there, we slammed right back down to the short target, 64.65. Again, this is the highest weekly zone for the week. Gold, metals just hammered today. No other word for it. This was the highest weekly zone. This is the lowest weekly zone. So we spent part of the week well above. Now we did roll yesterday to the J contract. All right, so there's Michael.
Here I am.
He's going to give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning.
I will.
And do a little live trading as time and the markets permit.
All those are true. Ready?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. All right. Let me just check one other thing over here. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 30th day of January, 2026, the final Friday of January, 2026. We actually had our best day this morning of the month. We'll get into that in a minute, though. If you haven't taken a free trial with us, click on the purple button right here. There's no credit card required for the trial. Click on that purple button. It will bring you to... hang on a second. I refreshed this last night. It will bring you to that page. But this page, I guess I can close that one now too. We bring it to this page. On this page, all we ask for is you name your email and your phone number. Right? That's next week. Name your email and your phone number. Down here at the bottom, make sure you use the TradingView login ID. Hit the register button. Once you do that, we'll know that you took the free trial and we'll get your indicators indicating on your desktop for you. Okay. Okay, let me close that one. And we'll look here. Now, this is the spreadsheet from today. We did have our best day of the month by far, actually. Made up for that short day we had right there. But if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. We're up 389 ticks on the NQ, and that was with a lot of negative slippage. You're still up 389 ticks. Made 18 on the Russell, 13 on the YM, and 34 on the ES. That put us up $2,525 this morning. Today we took 17 minutes and 11 trades to get to $1,100. We started off kind of slow. 11 trades. We ended up with a total of 55 trades this morning, and 7 of those were stop outs. So 87.27% of our trades this morning were break even or better. So we're going to wrap up the month of January in 2026 with $23,025. Now, how does that compare to last year? Last year we had 32,177. And you may hear a cat. That's the one that was lost during the storm for 3 days. Anyway, on a month, we're going to end with $23,025 over 18 trading days, averaging $1,279 per day. I wanted to keep that number over 1,200 in January if I could, and every month this year if I can. So it's the same thing on a monthly and the annual. That's going to change starting Monday. The monthly and the annual will not be the same anymore because we'll have Monday's results mixed in a new month. The 2420, so far this year, we have traded just under 2 hours. And if you did it just like I did and you quit trading when you got the goal for the day, you'd be up $2,472 gross. So that's averaging $1,257 per hour so far in the year. Okay. Now, here are the majority of the trades on the NQ by far today. I'm just looking. We'll start with the Russell. We had the fewest trades on the Russell this morning. I'm going to have to do the pullback thing on that. Okay. Not for lack of trade setups. It's just the NQ kept us busy. And in the beginning, I was struggling to get my goal for the day. Let's see. Our first trade on the Russell wasn't until almost 10 o'clock. And on that trade, we picked up 5 ticks. That huge move down, we picked up 5 ticks. One more there to get us to 6. And I know there were trades in there that I just didn't get. Now I'm going to show the other trades. There's 2 more trades. I went from 6 to 15, so we had a 9-tick trade and then a 3-tick trade. I went from 15 to 18. I went through a couple of things this morning. I was showing Mark how to create new layouts, and I accidentally deleted the layout that I've been using for years, the 6 NAI or whatever one. So this is the new layout that is on the My Trading IQ trade rules page here. Okay, when you click on this, this is the new layout down here. This is the one I'm using right here. So it's the same thing. It just, it's really just the same thing. And that is that. All right, that was it on the Russell. Now, right now, it doesn't look like we have a trade set up right there on the Russell. We do have one setting up on the NQ if I can get to my DOM fast enough. I'm not getting there yet. There. Okay, I just got to it. So here it is on the NQ. And we'll see what happens with this. This down close right here was a trade. It hasn't stopped me. I went to +4 and it looked like it gave me +4, but it's been looking like that a lot today, and I don't know exactly what it did. And what did it do? It gave me +2. So it slipped me 2 ticks when it pulled back up. Yeah, I can show you that. It's right here. +2 ticks. Okay. Let me put that in the results over here. Okay, so for today, so far, we have 2 on the NQ. We just add another day here. Insert 1 row below. 77, 32. Copy this down. Paste. That will figure itself out. I'll copy it down anyway. Paste. This becomes a 1. This becomes a 0. And this, well, I don't know how many minutes we're going to have yet. But I got the 1 trade off so far. All right, so let's get back in here now. That was the NQ. Sorry, that was the NQ trade we just did a minute ago. And we went through the Russell. So the YM today, on the YM, we had a fair number of trades there too. The YM, we were positive right away, and then we got down pretty good in the YM. And it took me a while, but I did eventually get it all back right near the end of the session. Okay, we got positive right near the end of the session today on the YM. So here we are. All right, so our very first trade on the YM. I'm not seeing them in here. Oh, that's bad news. Okay, there the YM. Do we stop out on our first trade on the YM? No, we didn't. Our first trade on the YM, we picked up 12 ticks. Then, I'm sorry, we picked up 1 tick. Then we went to 2 ticks, and then we had another one that that should have been a +1 tick, but it brought us to 0. Then we went to 3, and then we stopped out the first time. And after that one, we were at -12. Then we stopped out again. We were at -27. Then we picked up 10 ticks to get us to -17. We had a break even and a 4 tick to get us to -13. Then we stopped out again to -28. Then we picked up 15 ticks there to get us to -13. Then 9 ticks to get us to -4. And then there's another trade in here. I don't have it marked. But we went from -4 to +13. So it must have been a 17 tick trade to get us that far. And that was it. That was it for the YM this morning. I'll go to the very end and see. We don't have a trade right now, but we're pretty close to one. It needs to give us a down close followed by an up close. Would be a trade here right now on the YM. Okay, so we ended up this morning with +13 on the YM. After all that trading, we didn't get the down close followed by the up close. We don't have trades anywhere right now. Okay, so now we'll do the ES. Now the ES, we started out with the stop out. That's what made it take so long to get the goal for the day today. Okay, I'll go back to the beginning on the ES. All right. So I don't have the stop out showing in here on the ES, but we started out with a stop out on the ES. We're at -10. Then we picked up 8 ticks to go to -2. Then we had a break even, and then went from -2 to 0. So we had a positive trade to 0. Then we went to +1. Then we went to +2. Then we went to +14. Then we went to +16. And from 16, we went to 20, and 20 to 36, and 36 to 40. And then we had to stop out. Okay, so we're caught up right here. Then we had to stop out there, 40 down to 30. And then we picked up 4 there to get us to 34. And that was where we ended it with the ES today. Let's go to the end and see if we have any trades right now. We do not have a trade right now. Okay, just see something just popped here. Okay, that was the ES. Okay, now we'll get into the NQ. The NQ, we had a bunch of trades. We had 10, 15, 20, 24 trades. on the NQ by itself. So let's go back to the beginning. This one's going to take a minute. Take a minute to get scrolled back and take a minute to go through it all. And I think we actually had some in the pre-market too, so we'll go all the way back here. All right, now hopefully I got everything in here. It doesn't look like I do. Okay, on the NQ, our first trade was a plus 13, and I know that happened early on, so some of the trades that happened early on are not showing up right here. Went from plus 13 to plus 15, then went to plus 44. 44 to 90. I found some of the trades that I marked this morning were in that other layout that ended up getting trashed. Then we went from 90 to 131. So this is probably the 13 to 15 right here, because that was not a big trade. And then we went from 15 to 44. That was about right for that trade. Then we had a big trade there. Went from 44 to 90. Then 90 to 131. Both of those look like they're about the right size. Then 131 to 135. Then 135 to 139. Then 139 to 151, 151 to 195, 195 to 242. That was right there. Yeah, 242. Then we went from 242 to 287. Looks like 287. Okay, so one of these is off. That might be the 287. So we went from 287 to 291. Then 291 to 303. Then 303 to 330. Went from 303 to 330, went from 330 to 334, and then we stopped out. Went down to 309. Then went to 321. 321 to 325 to 333 to 337, and then we stopped out again, and that brought us down to 312. Then went to 316. It's just a bunch of trades. 316. Then to 3. We have a big trade in here somewhere. Oh, there's some trades missing. We went from 316 to 361, 361 to 365, and then 365 to 389. And that's where we ended up with 389 ticks at the end of the session. Hey, I'm sorry about the arrows not being everywhere where they should be. It was in the layout that I accidentally deleted when I was trying to show everybody how to delete a layout. I deleted the wrong one. Oops, I have to do this. All right, so we need a down close here on the NQ. Down close on the NQ would be a short right now. And let's see if that happens. This is not a trade here on the, yes, it's not a trade there, not a trade there. So the NQ is the only one, and it just gave the down close, and it gapped. Go to 8 ticks on that, and we're out with 8 on that one. Okay, so for those of you guys that are coming in the YouTube channel, if you haven't taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right there. There's no credit card required for the trial. Click on the purple button, and it will bring you to this registration page. Just fill out the form. Okay, just fill out the form. Now I'm going to go back down here. Just have 8 more here. I don't remember if we had a second trade in there. I thought we might have had another 4 ticks, but so we're going to roll with that for right now. This is not going to be a trade. This is not going to be a trade. This is not going to be a trade, and this is not going to be a trade yet. Just flip to IBR. It needs to pull back, get into the oversold like that, and now an up close on this bar would be a long trade on the NQ. Okay. The range is pretty tight here. You see, okay, it's not a trade. It's not a trade. The range is pretty tight here. It's not going to be a trade. It's going to flip the YBR back down. And that's all we have. All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything at this point? I'm happy to answer questions. And right now we have 15 minutes left, so we can add that in too. 15. All right. So all we are looking for right now is you get all the way into the oversold and then finish the cycle. That's not a trade right there. All right, now we need a down close on the NQ. Down close on the NQ. There it is. Here it is. So it's going to go 10. There it goes. Now we'll start locking in some more. There's 12. All right, it could turn into another trade here, but it's too far away right now. Now it's just going to be too far away. 12 more there. Okay, that's the goal for the day right now. If we were keeping track of it like that, that would be enough to give us the goal for the day right there. We just about have a trade here on the Russell. It needs a down close. On the ES also needs a down close. The Russell might be too high now. We didn't end up with anything over here, I don't think. There's the Russell, and it just triggered me in. My stop just went to +1, and it just took me out with +1. The ES needs a down close. It just gave the down close. Okay, and that actually just bumped my stop to break even. So we're going to lock in 4 on the ES. 8 on the ES. I was going to go for 10, but I got 8. Okay, so we'll go back in here. The Russell is this one. Got 1 on that, and the ES is this one. 8 on that. And 2 more trades. We're at twice the goal for the day now in this session. Just about have a trade here. It needs to end up close. It just needs to hit the mid-band and close down. The ES needs another up close with a down close. The Russell needs an up close with a down close. That didn't hit the mid-band. I think we just don't have it right now. Nothing. 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 And nothing. We're nowhere near the mid-band right now. Time is it? 1:19. We've got a little bit of time left in here. No trade there, but it didn't flip the YBR, so we could have another trade coming up. Okay, everything is still bearish. I need to look out here and see overall. That's too low. That's at a point where it should bounce. That's at a point where it should bounce. Going into the end of the day. All right, we don't have any trades here right now. I think we're sitting at plus of the day, twice the goal for the day, just a little over twice the goal for the day right now. And we still have plenty of time to trade. We have 9 minutes left. We have 5 more trades in here in 9 minutes. Easy. Does anybody have any questions about the trades we've taken so far? It's all the same thing again and again and again and again and again and again. That was a big gap up right there. Just filled it. That's not a trade here. It came out of the overbought right there. So that's not a trade. All right. Not a trade. Not a trade over here on the Russell. Now earlier, gold rolled today to the J contract for anybody who doesn't know. I think Dwayne probably went over that earlier. But this is what the gold DOM looks like for the J contract. Okay, there's no way you can trade that. So that's why we're sticking with the Russell over here right now. I tried trading crude earlier this week. I ended up stopping out twice. Didn't go well. And didn't go much either. Just didn't move. So I'd rather have something that actually moves. Okay, a down close here on the NQ will be a short. Still. It was a little bit high right there. That was a little bit too high on the short. I'll show you. It's a couple of ticks off. The ES might get one though. Everything else is starting to run up. The ES in the Russell, the ES in the YM might get a short here. That might turn into one, and this might turn into one. Okay, the YM did turn into one. Here that is. And the ES also turned into one. Here that is. Okay. All right, the YM went to +1. We're going to go to plus something on that. The ES is going to go to plus something on that. I have to go and check and see what I got on each one of those. I moved them. I'll tell you what I got. On the ES, yeah, I got it at the bottom. I knew that didn't look right. On the ES, we filled at 26.25. We sold 26.25 and we bought back at 25.50. So we got 3 ticks on the ES. And on the YM, we got 10 ticks. Okay, I can show you that stuff. It's right here. The ES filled and filled, and the YM filled and filled. So we got 3 ticks and 10 ticks. That was 10 there and 3 there. So we add that in. This becomes 11. This becomes 11. Both 11. I'll add 2 more. 7. This YM rate. Oops, YM. We didn't take any on the Russell, did we? These should all be on the YM, I think. It doesn't matter. They're all $5 a tick, but I don't remember. Did we get 1 on the Russell? We might have gotten 1 on the Russell. Do 1 on the Russell and 10 on the YM. I know we got 10 on the YM. Okay, so that's where it stands. So far in this session, I just missed a really nice trade right there on the NQ, but I can't get to my NQ right now because it's all covered up. Here it is. So everything turned around just like that. No, that's not a trade on the NQ. That could be a trade in here right now. There it is. That is a trade right there. And I jumped on it, and I think it gave me 4 ticks already. I jumped on it. I know that. Let me see what it gave me. It should have given me 4 ticks, but it actually took 4 away. No, 4. Yeah, no, 2. It took 2 away. Should have given me 4 ticks, but it slipped 6 ticks. So it's right here. I bought there, and it went to +4, and when it slipped me down 6 ticks to 33.75. So I ended up losing 2 ticks on that. I'm not going to call it a stop out though, because it really wasn't. Put 18 there. Put 8 on that. The way it came together is kind of like the way this one is coming together, where it went into the oversold right there on an up close. The same thing happened over here. It went into the oversold on an up close, I think. Anyway, that was a trade right there. I'm getting those back this time. Yeah, that's all 45 right there. That's 7, 8. I had almost all 45 right there, and I ended up with, I don't even know if I ended up with 8. No. I actually ended up with 1 tick on that. 1 tick. That was another one. Right in there. Okay. I can show you that one too if you want, but we don't have any trades going up right now. Every time I try to show you something, I end up burying my DOMs. Need a down close followed by an up close on the NQ. There's the down close. We're in the oversold. Now it needs to hit the ribbon. It didn't hit the ribbon, the mid band. It didn't hit the mid band. Now it's got the mid band, but it didn't go full cycle, so we don't have anything on the NQ. Okay. The YM could have a trade on an up close. The ES is a long way away, and the Russell's a long way away. The YM's just an up close away. There's the YM right there. There it is right here. It's up to +5. 15. Okay, 15 more in the YM. It's right there. Put that in. This was the YM. 25. And that 10. Okay. What do we have left for time? Oh, we only have a half a minute left. We might be out of time. But I told you could easily get, 9 minutes ago, I told you we could easily get 4 more trades. I don't know how many more we actually did get on it, but I think we got 5 or 6. These markets aren't hard to trade right now. Today. They didn't start out easy though. This morning, it took me. What did it take me? 62. Well, now this stuff should copy down because of the change that I made yesterday. That should have copied when I changed that. This number here should change when I change this. I'll move this back to 36. It does. Okay, 37. All right, that's good. So all those numbers are functioning now. All right, so this is how we're going to wrap it up for this session, guys. We had 15 minutes to trade. We took 10 trades. We had 0 stop outs today. 100% of our trades were break even or better. We made 19 ticks on the NQ, 1 tick on the Russell, 25 ticks on the YM, and 11 ticks on the ES, which is $3,625 with 10 contracts, or $362.50. Just 3.5 times the goal for the day with 1 contract in 15 minutes. I'm telling you, no. Last week, somebody had asked me, when the best time of the day to trade is, and I said, the morning session from 9:27 to 9:30 is a really good time to trade. I know it's only 3 minutes, but it's usually a really good time to trade if you're just getting your goal for the day. Half of the time I get my goal for the day in those few minutes. This period here in the afternoon, we're averaging $139 per session, and the sessions are only 15 minutes long. That's with 1 contract. So this period right here is not a bad period to trade. And then usually from 3:30 to 4 in the afternoon is a good period to trade too. Okay, so let's go here one more time and show you. If you've not taken the free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for the trial. When you click on that, it's going to be into the registration page. Just fill it out. Once you fill it out, make sure you give us your TradingView login ID down here, and then we'll get your indicators indicating for you on your desktop. And that is that. Pass back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. The game is ready.
Yes, sir. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 17 minutes and 11 trades to get to $1,100.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we covered all the markets in their entirety in granular fashion. So if you missed any part of today's afternoon broadcast, as soon as I sign off, go to youtube.com/CFRN and you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety. In fact, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure at youtube.com/CFRN. If you're ready to become a member, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Just let her know you want to become a member. She'll send you the information you need to get signed up. Once you're an official passport holder, you'll get 2 hours of live training every trading day. On top of the 2 hours of live interactive training each day, you have access to private one-on-one mentoring. There's no extra charge. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETFs. It doesn't matter because price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. As a passport holder, you get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock, the concierge trade alerts every evening, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open. You get the weekly trading zones Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern, and you're able to attend the members only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Plus, you get the golden keys that opens all the private channels in Telegram. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Just email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. So wrap it up with our good word for the day. Always do your best. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. A series of illustrations in a popular magazine once depicted the life story of a one-note musician. From frame to frame, the tale revealed how the woman followed her daily routine of eating and sleeping until the time came for the evening concert. She carefully inspected her violin, took her seat, arranged her music, and tuned her instrument. First, the conductor skillfully cued one group of musicians, then another, until finally her moment arrived. It was time for her one note to be played. The conductor turned to the violinist and signaled her to sound her note. She did, and then the moment was over. The orchestra played on, and the one-note woman sat quietly through the rest of the concert, not with a sense of disappointment that she had played only one note, but with a sense of contentment that she had played her one note in tune, on time, and with all of her ability. Jesus told the story of a business owner who gave 3 of his employees some talents of silver to be invested on his behalf. One was given 5 talents, another 2 talents, and another 1 talent. Matthew 25:15 says, "To each according to his own ability." The Bible says we will be rewarded in heaven for our service to Christ here on earth. How will God decide what your reward should be? Jesus said, "It's to each according to his own ability." Or as Solomon put it, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might." In other words, do the best you can with what God gave you. And that's our good word for today and for the week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.